In 2005, action games were aggressively expanding player freedom. Developers prioritized vast open worlds where characters could sprint, leap, and explore with seamless mobility. During this push for scale, Capcom announced the Capcom 5, a highly publicized promise to deliver 5 exclusive titles for the Nintendo GameCube. Producer Shinji Mikami oversaw these projects specifically to inject daring new intellectual properties into a market he viewed as stagnant. The final release of this lineup was an action game called Killer7, and it took the era's obsession with player freedom and violently rejected it. Instead of open exploration, Killer7 stripped away free navigation entirely. It placed players on strict, predetermined rails. You could hold a button to run forward, or you could turn around to run backward. That was it. To understand this choice, we have to look at why a major studio and acclaimed developers would intentionally sabotage traditional action mechanics to strip power away from the player. This diagram shows the core navigation loop. Instead of wandering freely, the player node is restricted to rigid, straight lines between fixed junctions. These restrictions extend into combat. When enemies approach, the player must stop completely, entering a stationary first-person mode to fire. These enemies, called Heaven Smiles, act as invisible suicide bombers. Because you cannot move while aiming, you are forced to manually scan the environment to reveal them before they get close enough to detonate. To survive and bypass physical puzzles, the protagonist, Harman Smith, relies on a unique condition, the multifoliate personae phenomenon. This allows him to transform into 7 distinct dead assassins. Director Goichi Suda designed these limitations with a specific philosophy in mind. By removing complex thumbstick navigation and combat inputs, he prevents mechanical distraction and forces the player to absorb the game's atmosphere. These simplified, rigid mechanics are an intentional art house pivot. They keep the player focused entirely on the unfolding narrative of an interactive film noir. On the surface, that narrative follows an elite assassin squad hunting down supernatural terrorists. As the missions progress, the scope expands. The monster hunt reveals itself to be a shadow war fought between the United States and Japan. Japan's dominant UN party is utilizing a secret document known as the Yakumo to manipulate global power dynamics. This foreign political conspiracy directly infiltrates U.S. presidential elections, operating through an elementary school acting as a front organization in Washington state. While the geopolitical stakes rise, the psychological reality of the assassins collapses. Lead operative Harman Smith eventually discovers his true identity as Emir Parkreiner, the man who murdered the other 6 assassins 50 years prior. The narrative ultimately abandons the geopolitical thriller altogether, escalating into a metaphysical dialectic between immortal forces of good and evil. By the time this climax hits, the restricted movement makes complete sense. The inability to move freely in the game serves as a physical metaphor for the inescapable, fatalistic destiny trapping every character in the story. Upon release, the game divided critics. Many reviewers were polarized by its strict refusal to provide the traditional entertainment value expected of an action game. The intense graphic maturity and provocative themes also drew immediate fire from activists who used the game as a target in campaigns to regulate the medium. It failed to reach mainstream blockbuster sales. Yet, through its uncompromising vision, the game steadily amassed a fiercely dedicated cult following. Looking back, Killer7 operated as an industry Trojan horse. It managed to sneak an unapologetic, avant-garde art house vision right onto the shelves of mainstream retailers. It proved that video games do not need to offer limitless freedom or traditional mechanics to be masterful. It forced players to accept rigid limits, permanently pushing the medium closer to being